Let's rock and roll. We are on, and let's have some fun. Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to India Game Changer. Today we are joined by Rishav Agarwal, the founder and CEO of Picxele. I love the spelling. We'll get back to that in a second. Thank you so much for doing this today. I mean, besides all the, as my grandfather would say, mishigas, which I can explain to you later that I caused for you today. How are you?
Thank you so much, Michael, for inviting me. Lovely speaking to you.
It's great speaking to you too. But I think this is actually indicative of something that we should talk about. We use all this technology in our lives, right? To make it more efficient, to make it more effective, to make it easier to communicate. And yet, if we had done the whole thing manually, right? None of the stuff that happened today between noon and like 2 p.m. would have happened because it would have been impossible for me to press the wrong button and cause all that confusion. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely technology can make disastrous things at times.
Right?
So
I mean, luckily you have a sense of humor and I have at least enough humility. I didn't say a lot of it, but enough humility to know like, I did that wrong, didn't I? I definitely did do that wrong. Anyway, before we get to the main part of this conversation, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of your background for some context to see how we got to here?
Definitely. So as you know, I'm Rishav Agarwal. So I started my company in college. So I was doing a UG 4 years degree. So I started my college in 2015. And in 2017, after doing a couple of internships remotely with a lot of startups and companies in India, so I did like 43 internships in like 1 year of my college, second year of my college. So from there, I figured out the problem. And then for 1 year, without building a product, I started doing some kind of work. And from there, I figured out, yes, this can be converted into a product and cannot be scalable without a product actually. So that's where Picxele was born.
Right. But I have to ask you this though. So first of all, where did you go to school?
Yeah, school. Yeah, definitely. I completed my schooling in 2000, class 12th actually. In India, we have class 12. So in 2015, I went to college for engineering.
For
For
engineering,
4 years.
right? So
Yeah,
how did you find the time to do 43 internships? And I guess the real question is, why not 44 or why not 14? Do you know what I mean? Like, why so many different things?
43, I just ended up applying to internships after I did 43 actually.
I
So
love it.
was not in mind that 43 I'm gonna do. So that is one thing. Second, obviously, while you do engineering, you do everything without doing engineering. So that's where
What does that mean?
so that's why I started doing internships. So people used to roam around. So during my free time, actually, I used to apply for all random internships I used to saw on internet. And I just thought, let's have some fun over there. So that's where I figured out, yes, these are some good things can happen. From engineering, took my entire skill set into marketing, growth, business, etc. So today, what I am doing, I'm not doing what I have studied. So that is the irony of the fact. So that's where the things got started. And May 2019 was the time I launched Picxele when I completed my college. And from then till now, I've been scaling Picxele. Been 3.5 years since I'm running this company. I also invest in companies. I invested in 50 odd startups till now as an angel investor
Wow.
and been doing a couple of other things along with.
You did all these internships. You were going to university, you're going to college to study engineering, which for your generation is just like the normal path, right?
Correct.
And whether you're interested in marketing or sales or whatever, your parents, and not just your parents, but your entire like extended family is just like, so Rishav is going to go to school to be an engineer, yeah? And you're like, yep, I definitely am. And then you get there and you do it because you're smart, but you're interested in other things. And frankly, just being an engineer is not enough to build a business from scratch. It's good, but it's not sufficient. But what was the thing that you learned maybe that you didn't expect when you were doing all these internships and not just doing the job itself, but when you were trying to find them as well? Just run me through that. What was the process of stuff that you learned?
So what happened actually, the first internship which I applied it all randomly because I didn't knew what is the term marketing because everything was new to me.
Right.
Everything I used to see. And during that time, internet was booming actually. Like if I talk about India, in internet was booming. Internet companies were booming a lot actually towards
Yeah.
the startup ecosystem. So that was the time. So I applied it randomly. For the first 15, 20 days, I don't know what was happening in the group. Some random tasks were coming around. People were telling to do something, and I kept on going. From there, I found it, yes, this is something which I am loving it. After doing 1 year of engineering, studying for 1 year. I thought that let's continue. Then I started finding more internships in the
Yeah.
same type of work. It came out to be content, it came out to be sales, it came out to be social media marketing, everything apart from engineering domain. So that's where it got started, and then I just learned a lot of things in terms of how the business works, how the startup works, how the team works, how the processes works, everything while I doing this. Definitely all didn't went in a good way actually by doing internships. Some companies were doing it very slowly, some were doing it very rapidly, etc. So that's where I was also learning in different phases of the people, actually understanding more about the people, more about the ecosystem, and more about the different regions of people in India. So that's where it helped me a lot.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I want to ask you, right? Because look, India is such a big country. In a way, even though it's a different shape, it's very similar to the United States, right? If you've never been to the United States, not you personally, but if one's never been there and one just reads about it, I don't think anybody really understands it. What's happening in North Dakota is nothing like what's happening in Texas, which is like nothing what's happening in Boston or in San Diego. So
Correct.
it's not one big market per se. But the other thing too is that there's an aspirational part of, do I come from a small town and end up in New York? Or do I come from a smaller town and end up in Chicago or LA? Is it the same in India? And was that your experience too? Like,
Yeah, exactly. So in
talk to
India,
me.
what we have metro cities, we have tier one cities, tier two cities, tier three cities actually.
Yep.
So I was belonging from a tier three city actually.
Okay.
Over there, if I talk about Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy, these were not available.
Right.
And in tier one cities, these were the places where people used to travel by Ola, Uber,
Right.
or Zomato, Swiggy, ordering foods, etc.
But did you know? But if you're from a tier three city, because this is interesting to me too, if you're from a tier three city, you don't have access to Uber or Ola or some other services that may be there. But do you know they exist? Like, are you there? So you don't even
No,
know they exist.
yeah, I didn't even know actually who they are actually. So I just known about them in 2015 when I entered to different city actually.
So you just
So
got there
city,
and you're like, what is this stuff?
what is happening? Why people are booking via mobile application?
Okay,
So
but
this
that's
was
cool but that's informative, isn't it? Sorry, go ahead.
so that's what happened actually when I moved to Chennai. It's in Tamil Nadu in India. It's in southern part. So that's where I moved from eastern part, which is West Bengal,
Yep.
to South India. So that's where these all things came. And obviously in India also there's in different parts of India, different languages are there, different cultures are there, different target markets are there. Everything changes with
Yeah.
the geography. Cool. So from there, I just saw that why people are booking like cabs and people are coming directly in front of their houses. It was happening. So then I started learning this. This is happening. This is great actually. So that's when I figured out, yeah, this is something cool. Then slowly and steadily, I knew about the ecosystem. There is something called a startup. I didn't know what is startup. So that is one thing. Until then, I used to know what is business because I come from a business background. From my father has a family business.
Okay.
So that I know. What is business? What is startup? I don't know.
What kind of business was your dad running?
So it's an iron and steel business actually. So it's a
Okay, so not
manufacturing.
a small. I mean, an iron and steel business is big business.
So that
Even
was
if the revenue is not gigantic, it almost has to be. But the business itself requires a decent amount of physical plant and
correct.
infrastructure, right? It has to be a complicated business. It's not like, he's not like selling widgets and stuff. He's building
Exactly.
steel and iron. Sorry, go ahead.
So that is what actually from the background I came from. So that I know that what is business. I don't know what is fundraising, etc. What is startup? What is co-founder? So that's one.
Yeah, but in an interesting way, you couldn't even ask your dad, right? Because if you were going to start another traditional business, you could go to your dad, your mom, your grandfather, and stuff, and ask those questions, right? Like, how do I do capital expenditure? What is capex? How much money should I reserve for my employees' insurance? Like all these regular business things. But if you say to your dad, like, how do I talk to a venture capitalist about seed stage funding? He's just like, what language are you speaking, dude? I thought I educated you, kind of thing, right? No,
Exactly. So this is what I learned from my father also.
right?
Like he made money, he earned money, and reinvested the money.
Yeah.
He invested the money back into the business. So as of now, in Pixel also, I never raised a single penny from an external investor. We are completely bootstrapped. We never raised a single penny from anyone actually, till now, till date. So that's where I thought the day when I started developing this actually, the first thing was in my mind, I shall have a decent revenue because without that, I cannot fill my stomach. I cannot order pizza. So, so that's where actually
Okay, you're gonna go there? That you're gonna go there already? Okay, go ahead. You're making fun of me for pizza. Go ahead.
That's why actually I thought that I need to earn some money because I'm not sitting for the placement. So from day one, my focus was on revenue, on profits, etc. And I slowly and steadily, I thought that if you are running a profitable business, whether it's not going to 100 crores, but you are earning bread and butter, so that's where comes the more satisfaction. And that's where I started to being bootstrapped and kept the business same way and keep on reinvesting the money.
Yeah, so this is also a different way of thinking about building what I'll put in quotes a startup business.
Exactly.
I'm guessing that when your family business started, that they didn't go to venture capitalists or the traditional investment route, that somehow there was either some family money or they borrowed money from some family and friends or who knows what, but somehow the first idea wasn't, let me get 1 million customers and see if I can figure out a way to make money from steel and iron. It was, okay, what's the spread and margin on my business? And then how can I grow it fundamentally so that I can then grow that business to bigger, bigger, bigger? Maybe my margins shrink a little bit, but I can still feed my wife, my kids, my in-laws kind of thing, right? But if you do that today, because all of your peers are going out there and saying, how many clients can I get? How big can I get? How fast can I get that big so that I can then go out and raise money? And although you didn't use these exact terms, basically what you're saying is I need to be profitable from day one because I can't fund this any other way. If you do that from the beginning, don't you think there's now a disincentive for a business that has been built like yours never to take investment or just not to take it today kind of thing?
So it's not like not taking investment ever. It depends upon people to people, the owner or the founder to founder actually. So obviously from in every business model, you cannot make money from day one. You cannot, it's a SaaS business, you cannot start generating revenue from day one. You need to build, then you can sell it. So in my business model, it was completely evident enough that from day one I can make money.
Right.
We can generate revenue. So obviously there will be different approaches depending upon the scenarios, what market you are catering, what audience you are catering, and depending upon that you can define your skill set, etc. Let's take an example. If a person who is starting after 10 years of doing a job, he has some money, he's putting into the business, he's building the product, etc. Be it SaaS business, he knows the skill to sell it. They can also become profitable from day one. We have seen in India companies like Zoho, Zerodha, etc.
Yep.
They have like never raised money, so they have been growing like hell. So being profitable. So there are different types of mindset if we talk about, and it's always okay. It's completely an individual choice, which I say in the end of the day, how you want to grow your business, how do you want to scale your startup. Completely depends upon the scenarios, the markets, and all the things.
Do you think that after running the business for a while, right? So lynda.com, which was a company that was acquired by LinkedIn, and you saw me just typing, I was just trying to look up to see what it was purchased for. But I think it was a couple of $1 billion, right? But the company lynda.com was started by this woman, Linda, and her husband, basically as an education business or like an online ed tech business. And they just grew it and grew it and grew it. And then they sold it to LinkedIn. But I think in the interim, they raised $100 million, but only 10 years after they were in. It just gives you so much more leverage and control, right? Because if you raise during the seed round, then you have this kind of, I don't want to say anchor, but this kind of heavy weight with you the whole time you're trying to grow because you're like, I think I want to go over there. And they're like, I don't think that's the right place to go. Go over here. And you're like,
Right.
kind of thing. But I want to understand this too. You're in college, you're doing all these internships, you're enjoying it, right? So you're doing things you didn't even know existed before. What was the impetus? Like, what did you want to solve when you said, okay, I can actually turn this into a business? What was the original idea?
Okay. So what happened actually while I was doing internship, the company used to hire interns in good numbers, 50 numbers, 70 interns, 100 interns, etc.
Oh, wow.
They all will work from home. Okay. But again, there's a challenge. For a company, they used to have one particular person as a full time to manage all these people,
Yeah.
right? From giving them the work, reporting, allotting them work, checking, then ultimately giving them stipend and a particular thing, anything, whatever it is. So complete allocation of resource over there from a company's end. So, and from there was a one problem which I witnessed. Second problem on the intern side or as a student side, that some of the companies might not reply, they were not applying in time. The stipends and the certificates were getting delayed, etc.
Yeah.
This was the problem as a student which I was facing. I thought we can make a platform where we get the work from the companies, and I will make a create group of people or students who are ready to do this work. So that's where this idea started. So all the people whom I got in touch during this 1 year, I made a group of 150 to 200 students all across India who
Wow.
wanted to work. But one thing I told them, you need not worry about the payment or the payouts, whatever it is, it will be timely. This is the process, etc. Similarly, I went to 10 companies from one who I made a good connection out there. I told them, ultimately, you will hire interns and then you will get your work done. Why to go to such a big pain? You can give me your work. So that's where I explained them. So they given me the work. I started allotting the work to the people out there. Over here, the bigger benefit was I need not hire interns for different companies or for different parts. Actually, same group of people can do multiple kind of works.
Yeah.
Started allotting them work. Started working with them. In the first year, that was third year of my college, we did around 20 lakhs of revenues from the money which I saved from that revenue. If 20 lakh, if I talk in dollars, it will be around.
Let's look it up just so people can know. We have time. 20 lakh, yeah? Actually, 20 lakh is $58,000. Yeah.
So that's where actually it will be coming. And from there, the money which I saved actually in terms of profit, that I reinvested again in building the product, the technology, because it was not scalable. I cannot keep on running on WhatsApp or Google Sheets
No, you're just
or Excel.
juggling stuff. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I was testing the waters for 1 year because obviously, if I'm doing something, I had time. I had the entire college life of mine left. So that's where I thought that let's experiment for a 1 year. I kept on experimenting. Once I had a decent saving, from that I reinvested again in order to build a product, and it happened to be built in 6 months. But this continuous, the offline process was in their place. We never stopped that ever because I need to had that revenue incoming. So that's where I launched. Soon I graduated the college, and then we started scaling via application.
what were the biggest problems to scaling with, let's say, before you built the platform, right? What was the biggest problems maybe the top three that you noticed when you were trying to do this thing? Like the things that you were juggling and you were really afraid, if I go to sleep, this thing's going to fall and hit the ground and everything's going to stop. What were those things that were scariest?
Yeah. So at a time, I could not manage more than 5 to 6 companies. So that was one problem.
Okay.
Second problem, it was very difficult in order to check the work on WhatsApp because individual person was sending to me one on one, etc.
Right.
That was a tedious process for me. And the third, the entire process was manual actually. I used to keep on noting it down. So these three problems were the most at a time. Then I thought that if this is a proven method, we can replace this with the help of application where we'll put the work, users will come and perform the work, they will submit over there, in the backend we will check and they will get the money. Simple process.
So I always wonder like what the first lines of code are. Do you know what I mean? Like you say, okay, I want to build this platform. You go, okay, you three gals are hired to do this. You guys are going to work with them and stuff. Go. Like, do you know what I mean? What are the first three lines of code besides like notes, the simple stuff? What do they build first?
So see, actually, I personally, I didn't build the application.
Sure.
So I had 2 to 3 members, like my friends actually. I paid them and I got the app developed. So what comes the first set of work if I talk about? See, now obviously we used to list the work on the application with the steps and the requirements and the prerequisites. People who are interested in the users of the application, they will read the task or the work or the project. They will go through it. If they're interested, they will apply and they're going to work on it. As simple as that. We won't be mapping against each other. People who are interested in those particular kind of work, they will apply to it, they will work along it.
But who approves it? Does your platform approve it or
Yeah,
does the company approve
yeah,
it?
we on the back end will approve because we have the entire process of checking it and all those things. And obviously there's some of the works which company approves, then we approve on the back end, etc.
Right.
For
But
the
how do you
people
know if
who,
someone's actually, like, let's say there's this big project that you need 10 people to work on. I apply for one of it because I'm like, I really want to work for this company. But in the end, you decide I'm just not qualified. Like, how does that process work?
so see, there are like 2 to 3 things. It's a 2 ways we define the task.
Go
One
ahead.
is skilled and one is semi-skilled or unskilled, where we can just read the task, a layman can read and complete it.
Right.
So that's not restricted to anyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that anyone can do it, complete it. That is one way. Second, when we comes into skilled, there's a list of form involved actually without before applying. So they need to fill the prerequisites, etc. Based on that, we filter out. Then when the requirement is very small, that we need only 3 or 4 or 5 people to work on it, we speak them one on one. We make them understand the work, then they start working on it. So that's where we do the matchmaking in terms of skilled work, where the training is also required because based on the work of a different companies, it needs to be trained actually. We cannot get it done by simply the set of documents.
Right. So do you do training as well? right? Because
For the work, specific work, if it is there.
yeah, you know what I mean though, right? In other words, I can study all this great stuff in college, but even I
Hmm.
studied economics, but you can't just like graduate from college and become an economist, right? You just that's just not the way it works. The same way, even if you study computer science and engineering, most likely the problems, the engineering problems and the software development problems you're going to be solving at a big company are likely different than what you learn specifically in school. But is there a way for you to make money as well from for training people to actually work for some of these big companies, right? So let's say they're going to work for Tata, they're going to work for some big Indian company or even a smaller startup company. Like let's say they're going to go work for Awiros or some other company. You're like, okay, but
Hmm.
before you do that, we need to train you to do this. Do you do that as well, or do you think about it?
No, we don't do it. Actually, that comes into different sector as a whole, actually.
Go ahead.
Because we train for a specific work. For example, if some company needs us to do data mining or data analytics,
Right.
based on the company process, what the company requirement is, we train them on that particular task basis. We
Got it.
don't train them whatever is not required and what the entire thing, what a company is doing, etc. We tell them prerequisites, etc. And company helps us in doing that. Obviously, they will be the best person in doing that particular thing along with us. So we train for a particular project or a task. We don't have to do with the entire thing, entire process, etc. So that's where this is thing. If we go into the entire training part, as I told, if a person is an economist, they want to enter into software development.
Yep.
So that training is an entirely different training as a whole. That is a different market in India, which comes into training and placements, all those kind of things. So we are not into that as well.
Do the companies themselves have a relationship or create relationships with these, I'll put it in quotes, gig workers that you're supplying to
Hmm.
them? And let's say they just love this one lady who's working for them and they hire them. In some way, that's got to make you happy. No?
Correct. So what happens actually for us, we are there in between to manage the process, the quality, etc., everything. So we never get the gig worker hired for any company. For example, if someone is getting trained, it will be great. Obviously, if someone is like, if some company likes the particular person very much, in the work done by that particular person, they tell us that we need to hire this particular person. So we definitely allow that. It's a very good thing that a person is getting job from our from our platform. It's a very good thing actually. We
Right.
get a good user feedback, we get a good client feedback, etc. So that's where the thing is happening. Obviously it happens like it happened in the past, it keeps on happening some or the other day. So that keeps on happening. That's a very good additional point which we get obviously from that.
And how does payment take place? Because one of the problems that you were addressing earlier was this idea that
Yeah,
a gig worker does the work, but they're not getting
it gets
paid,
late.
right? But how do you ensure? Because it's now on you, right? In other words, the company's not necessarily
Exactly.
hiring the gig worker per se, they're hiring Pixel.
Yeah.
But Pixel has to get paid first before they can pay the worker. So how do you manage that?
So what happens actually? So company pays us, we keep our margin, and we pay to the gig worker, right?
Yeah,
So
but how do you make
that's
sure they
how
pay early enough or on time?
yeah, yeah. So we keep a cycle of 15 days actually. So for gig workers also, we keep a cycle that in 15 days we'll get our work. So there are some companies with whom we are working on a regular basis. So now they have become more flexible, that they keep on releasing payment for us on a weekly basis,
Right.
on a 15-day basis, etc. For the newer companies who are coming into place and working us for the first month, let's take an example, they started working us in February 15th. Their work gets completed in 28th of February. So we tell them that by 15th of March, you need to make us the payment. So for them, actually, we try to make the payment to the gig worker by 7 when the work gets approved, when the invoices gets raised, etc.
Right.
So we need to maintain our cash cycle. That's what I have learned from the beginning of my day actually. To maintain the cash cycle, which is very important in this kind of business because your payment might get stuck also 15, 20, 30 days also. That possibility will always be there. And this happens some of the times. So that's where I like mostly focus on managing the cash cycle so that if I'm not getting up money from one end, I get it from second end so that this particular requirement amount is getting pushed.
Yeah, so this brings up a lot of other questions, but also opportunities for a company like Pixel. If big corporation A is hiring Pixel to supply them with, let's say, 50 workers for certain tasks, whatever they are, you know who's getting paid, you know who's doing a good job. At some level, you must keep track of like who's really good at X and who's really good at Y and who's just bad at everything, and you just don't offer them any more work. But with all the cash that's going through your system, at some point you can either consolidate it, you can offer financial services, you can offer insurance, you can offer, earn earn early, get your pay later, all these kinds of other financial services. Are you building that out as well? Right? I mean, the first thing is insurance, because if you've got people all over the country and they're working for you, you could offer them health insurance, car insurance, everything, because you already have their money in a way, right?
Definitely. So this is the right point. So people in India, lot many companies keep us approaching us for this particular kind of services to integrate with our product.
Right.
But as of now, until we are a very small team, 3 to 4 members, 2 people are in the operations, one in the tech, and one me looking after business and the finance. So we are now in 2023, we are implementing these changes. As you told, we are trying to gamify the application. That is first. Second, we are making more rewarding in terms of credit base. We can give them by BNPL, insurance, cards, etc., whatever it is actually. These 3 to 4 things we are trying to implement in 2023. As of now, the time when I launched, it was in the same version of the application. We never made any changes for past 3.5 years. We scaled to 750K users all organically in India. So my focus was to build the product, to get attention of the people, and to get that this is a simple application where you work, you get money. Our positioning was like that. That's where I tried focusing on to get more and more revenue, build this particular thing. Once it gets stable, then you can make more changes because you can make changes anytime, but you need to know what is the right time to make the changes.
Are you brand building as well? And I'll tell you what I mean. Intel did this really smart thing where like nobody used to care what kind of chip was inside the computer until Intel worked with Microsoft and had those little stickers that said Intel inside. And then people started doing like powered by this and like supported by that. Do you do this with Picxele as well? And also in the reverse, are the employees that you have, the workers, proud of being sort of powered by Picxele too? So that they walk around with a Picxele t-shirt, not for work or anything, but just like in their regular lives. And people just go, what's that? And you're like, I got my job through this. You know what I mean? Are you doing that kind of brand building too?
Yeah, see what happens there, like some of the top users are there, definitely, who are earning more, who are
Yeah,
getting more, who are working with us directly also some of the time, because it's not possible that we work directly with all the users who are on the platform.
sure.
There will be 300, 400 people, 200 people. So these people definitely put their particular status on like Instagram or can be LinkedIn, etc. That as they're working as a gig worker or as a part-time worker on Pixel. So that happens actually. Once a particular individual starts getting something from the platform or any kind of any particular product, etc., they feel proud. It happens for us. Definitely not for all the users. For some
Yep.
users, it happens. That
Yep.
is first thing. Second, for the company side, actually, the people who love us, that we are a go-to person for them. Whenever they are stuck somewhere, they reach out to us. Whether it is
Right.
today, whether there is tomorrow, they reach out to us. So they also give us a shout out on lot many platforms, etc. So that's where this entire journey of mine since past 3 to 4 years actually it happened with people, because this is more of networking. You need to have that credibility in place. You need to have that brand in place. The people love you. People shall know about you, and people shall know that you this particular company is solving the problem.
It just my brain is like on overdrive right now. Well, because if we believe, I know what you're thinking, too much pizza. Okay, fair enough. You got me again. But but if we believe that work is really changing, right, and the nature of the way people work and the places where people work is changing, you could create this community, right? So like, let's say you hire a bunch of people in Bangalore, a bunch of people in Delhi, a bunch of people in Chennai, a bunch of people, in Kolkata and all over the country. But in those particular towns, they want to do two things, or cities. They want to work from home sometimes. Sometimes they want to work outside the home, but they don't want to go to a coffee shop because there's too much noise. Do you think it makes sense at some level to build kind of co-working spaces that you build that are branded Picxele so that regular people can come in and work there, but also the people that work with Picxele to get their other gigs and other jobs have a quiet, air-conditioned, nice place to work that feels like an office? Then they can walk around as well and just go, hey, I'm working on this problem. What do you think about this from a software perspective? Do you know what I mean? So you're really building a community that way? Does that make any
No,
sense?
no. Yeah, for us, the sector which we are and the type of area which we are targeting,
Yep.
this doesn't make that particular alignment. Because see, in gig economy as a whole, there are three segments. One is white collar, gray collar, and the blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, we are not catering the blue collar at all.
Yep.
That comes into recruiting and outsourcing. Then comes into white and the gray color. We are doing the semi-white color and the gray color work, which our target audience and the users as a whole are mostly students in the age group of 19 to 24.
Got it. Okay.
That's where we are targeting. Now, these people are more comfortable working from their place by utilizing their free time, getting some skill development, getting some pay, money out of there. So that's where the focus is. Now, for companies also, it makes sense when the young generation or the young youth of particular India are working on certain tasks for them. It can be promotions, it can be acquisitions, it can be content, etc., whatever it is. So like-minded people come out of there. But the type of work which you're telling, it comes completely into freelancing, which is a different side of the business.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where people go to the co-working, it can be cafes, etc., where people hire 2 to 3 people for a development of a project. It can be data analytics, it can be graphic designing, UI, UX, etc. That is a whole new market for a freelancing sector. So we are not hiring that. We are not targeting that actually. The reason being is like that is completely into outsourcing the resources to a different company. The company will directly manage the freelancers and they will get them. But over here, we are there in between to cater the requirements for a company by the set of people we have.
So if I wanted to hire someone to do like podcast post-production, could I go to Picxele to do it, or should I go somewhere else to do it?
Now, for post-production, now, for example, if you need video editing to be done, let's take an example. You
Yep.
need this video to be edited in a better way.
Yep.
Or the transcription to be done.
Yeah.
That's a better way if you want this transcription to be done. So we have people, we will get that particular in place. You, me, you'll be telling the requirements. We'll be there in order to ensure that this particular person is doing the work. Let's take an example. If that particular person goes off by doing one video, suddenly, so you need not go and find the different person. We'll be replacing the second person out there. So that is one there. That is second part. And third, the entire process, how it needs to be done, when it needs to be done, signed by you and we and us actually. So we work together on that particular part. So this we have done with the company, and obviously transcription, translation, video editing. So we have designers in place where we do on per translation of a video, which are charged from a company. We keep our margin, we pass to them. That's how it works.
Can you say what your margins are?
So it's specifically in between 25 to 30% we keep.
Okay,
as an
but
average.
good size margins though, right? How many people, because you said it's mostly students, you said between 18 or 19 to 24 or 25. For people that aren't familiar just with the scale of India, can you just give them a sense for how many people that is?
So currently total user base as a whole, we have 7.5 lakh, which is 750K. And from them, month on month active users, we have around like 40,000, which are active on our application.
Yeah.
So 35 to 40,000 active users on our application who keep on working on different tasks, keep on working on different, keep on applying. But we keep on filtering the best ones from our application and make a community for them. For example, the people who are good in designing, people who are good in content, people are good in translation, transcription, people good at telecalling, and this kind of task, which requires some kind of skills in place.
Yep.
It can be writing skills, it can be designing skills, it can be communication skills. Those we keep on in a separate place so that when we have a certain demand in place from a company, we can get it done straight away.
What is the biggest opportunity segment for you that you didn't expect was going to be there?
I don't ponder upon this actually. So there are like so many sectors, obviously. They're like opportunity if I talk about in the offline market, there's a bigger market actually. But that's a operational heavy. If I talk about the blue collar segment,
Yeah.
which is like documentation collection, Uber drivers, or the any kind of drivers, or the delivery boys, etc. So that's a bigger market in India, where we talk about the blue collar segment. But it's a very ops heavy and it needs to be completely outsourced and deployed, etc.
Yeah.
So that's a bigger market which we are not exploring. But what I have seen, people who are already there, like there are so many companies doing this in India.
Yeah.
We wanted to specialize ourselves in certain tasks or certain projects actually. We become best of it so that whosoever requires this kind of work, they will come to us.
Right.
So that's where we want to place ourselves, that become that particular expertise in the particular kind of work that people will come to you in for that particular sector.
Are you familiar with a company called Workmate that was recently acquired by Picxele?
Workmate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard this company.
Yeah. So Matt Ward built this company 5 or 6 years. I can't remember. Time passes so fast now in the startup world. But also gig worker or, independent worker focused, and then just got acquired last year at some point. I'm just looking at this article, October of last year.
Okay.
Do you think of being acquired? Or do you just want to grow this thing into like the biggest company in India?
Yeah, obviously we look forward to getting merged with someone, like people who are doing some different kind of task. As I told, it can be into the offline segment or the outsourcing segment,
Yep.
but they want to foray into this particular segment, which we are in, the online world, actually, online way of doing tasks. Some company, if wants to get merged, we will be happy to do that. That is first thing. We did got two offers of acquisition, but it was completely equity based acquisition offer, so I was not
No,
inclined
thank you.
towards that.
No, thank you. If it was pizza based, you might have considered it, but not stock.
Exactly. So I was getting only pizza. I was not getting the toppings. So it was that.
Exactly. Oh, well said.
So
Is it?
that's when I stopped myself.
Yeah, starve yourself. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to make fun of me for? Or are you done for today?
No, no, no. I don't know why pizza is coming into my mind.
I do. You know why? Because I told you that's what I had for lunch. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Rishav Agarwal, founder and CEO of Picxele. This was awesome. You got to come back. You got to come back and talk to me more about this as you continue to grow. Is that cool?
Definitely will do.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me.